The two pipes we use for downspouts, high octane solid, and the high octane knife cut. Knife cut, it just has literally a blade during the manufacturing that slices it. Unlike the French drain high octane 8 slot, this has material saw cut, literally removed for these giant inlets. This is for the French drain. We use this in our leach fields and we use it for downspouts. And I'm showing you guys more and more on how to combine the solid high octane with the knife cut high octane. And we still get a lot of people calling the office saying, hey, I'm going to be driving a semi or a big tractor over my system. And I always tell everybody, if you're going to be driving on it with big heavy stuff, go up to the 6-inch. We call it the Boffman Tiles mini culvert pipe for a reason. It's crazy strong. You can drive whatever you want on it. We have this at our shop. We drive our trucks in and out every day over it. No problem. You have a 4 slot for the perforated, and you can see these are monster saw cuts. I mean, you can drop a 50-cent piece in these cutouts. And it comes in knife cut as well. So let's get right to it. We got a real fun video for you. You're going to see a lot in this video. It's a combination sump pump discharge line, roof runoff system, 9 downspouts, and a French drain. This homeowner took care of everything at once. It's going to be a great video. You guys are going to want to watch it start to finish because I'm going to give you pointers throughout. Every time I get sent out on a call for failed PVC downspouts, it's the same thing. It's smooth on the exterior and it just slides down during the rainy season, always separates itself from the gutter. The other problem that I see with it all the time, it's so rigid when the ground shifts and moves at all, it is done. It always fails at the fittings or the couplers or at the bell. Seems to be where it cracks and fails. You can see right here, we have a failed PVC downspout. It's full of water, and it has been full of water and not working for quite some time. It's a Petri dish. It's growing all types of funky stuff. We have a separation at a fitting, unfortunately. Unlike corrugated pipe, where you could run one piece off the downspout all the way to your D-box or all the way to your pop-up if that's what you wish to do, PVC does not allow you that luxury. You have to glue it together, and the fittings as well as the couplers, that seems to be its weak point. Ground shifts, ground moves. There's a lot of moisture on the exterior of this product. You have different pressures. The inside pressure is different than the outside pressure. And depending on what you're doing with your backyard and how you're using it, you also have different sub bases. Now, there's a brick paver walkway here. See, so when the weather changes and we have a little bit of freeze, the ground moves at a different rate than the base material under the brick pavers. I see this all the time. So when you have a situation where you have different base materials, you're going to have failure all the time. The worst thing you can do if you live in the north, Canada, northern US, PVC downspouts, absolutely the worst thing you can do. So you can see at the fittings that there's cracking and there's some separation. Dirt starts to enter the pipe through these cracks. Once you have 2 cracks meet, then you usually have a piece that will fall right inside. Then the dirt just literally comes piling in and you have a collapse. Unlike corrugated pipe, where it is so flexible, that's its strength because it's so flexible. It can freeze and it could just blow up like a boa constrictor, and it can thaw out and it won't have any splits and it'll work just fine. So you can see there's root penetration from the cracks in this PVC pipe. At the fittings, there's failure. And again, you have root penetration. If this was one piece of corrugated pipe, You would not have this at all. So keep that in mind, because when we build our systems, we try to run a one piece from the clean out on the downspout all the way to the D-box. And sometimes we have two downspouts tied into one D-box. Actually, if we can do that, we prefer it, and I'll explain why. But as you can see, this is a failed experiment. I talk about it all the time. I see it all the time. I'm just going to start showing it more because everybody wants proof. All right, so we got 9 downspouts that we're going to take care of on this house. We also have a failed sump pump discharge line, and we're putting in a French drain where water's trapped on the side of the house. So this was a fun job. Got to do everything for this homeowner at once. We knocked it out in one day. It was pretty cool. We rolled up. We had a 7-man crew, and we took care of business. Now, I know that I have a lot of subscribers say, hey, slow it down, slow it down. So I will get you on the ground, and I will, in real time, walk you through the job. I just want everybody to get familiar with the job. We have 9 downspouts on this house. In the front, let's start from the left and work our way to the right. We have 2 downspouts that we're going to tie together in that first trench to the far left. We have another 2 downspouts that we're going to tie in to the same line. This is going to help keep the line clean. The more water you push through the line, you're going to move your shingle, gravel, leaves, and debris that end up in the pipe. We have a clean out on it, so you can run a garden hose or a jetter. You can do whatever you want. And with the D-box, you have full access to the system. We were replacing a failed system, and there was some of that cheap Home Depot pipe that we had to take out of the yard. It was collapsed, it was failed, and that gives corrugated pipe a bad name. You know, unfortunately, there's low grade in anything that you can use. All right, so this sump pump discharge line failed. You can see the guys right now are coring the storm drain catch basin. They're actually doing 2 cores. One for the sump pump discharge line at the bottom, and one right there for the French drain. So we're ready. We're tapped. They went ahead and cored, and we're good to go. So now they're putting together a 4-inch PVC discharge line for the house, the basement sump pump. Now, we have to be 42 inches deep to keep it below the frost. The reason why it failed, it was 3-inch, and there was a belly in it. The bigger diameter, you get away with some of that belly or mineral deposit buildup because you displace more water with a bigger pipe. So we always go to a 4-inch pipe, even though the building departments only require a 3-inch. As you can see, we're replacing a 3-inch, and it wasn't thin wall. It was Schedule 40. It was the good stuff. This, the 3-inch pipe leaves you no room at all for ground settling. Anything at all happens, 3 inches done. So I want to point this out. When we core under these sidewalks, you guys, whether you're contractors or DIYers, you have to know that you have to pack the clay back in around the pipe. If you don't do this, your sidewalk is not going to fare well. You want to make sure that you go ahead, and while there's moisture in that clay, I recommend you do this right away. Don't wait till the next day or leave it, the clay just lay in the sun and dry. Then it makes it harder to work. We cut up the moist clay in small little pieces, and we just take the handle to a shovel and we pack it right in. So as you can see, we have something going on 360 degrees all around this house. We got men scattered everywhere, teamed up. I prefer 2-man teams. All right, we're doing a whole house roof runoff system. We have our pop-up emitters with our turf restrictor plates. Pretty nice, whole pile of them there. One under the walk here. We're going to tie that downspout in with that downspout. See, Kale's working on a D-box right now. We have our D-boxes in place. All right, so they're running the solid under the walk. They got the solid in all the landscape beds. See, we got our internal teak. Look at the guys are taping everything up so that the trees and the shrubs don't sniff out the water and get inside the pipe. They're using the super sticky, super stretchy tile tape. This was the old system. It dumped right here. That's no good. Too close to the house, doesn't do any good. So you can see we got our clean out. Nice clean out here. Just pop the grate, run a camera through it if need be. Tape all the joints so the shrubs, they can't root into the pipe. Real nice. The corrugated pipe is ribbed so the dirt holds it in place so you don't get this sliding out of place like you do with PVC. We replace a lot of PVC, so we see that all the time. So the guys are doing a really nice job. They're combining 2 downspouts here, go under the walk. Kale's gonna put the D-box in right there. They combine 2 right here. Gonna do a clean out here. We have another downspout right here. Gonna go ahead and hook up to that pipe, run them to, so you got 2 downspouts to a D-box here, 2 downspouts to a D-box there. We're combining them. The more water you have moving through a 4-inch pipe, the cleaner you keep that pipe. Shingle gravel will lay in anything, but once you get enough water moving. So now this is a long run, and we don't really have the drop that we wanted, so get you in here. The guys already did a really good job, you can't even tell. So there's a clean out on that one. You can see that the old system, see, this was all wrong. This real cheap pipe with little holes, and it just ended right here in the bed. So the guys already ran this. It went under the edging, solid pipe to a D-box. Now here's the knife cut. Knife cut lives right up to his name. It's got knife cuts. Instead of having the big openings, I'm going to show you the difference right now. So no material's been ground out, just a blade literally cut the pipe. Bulk water is going to move through this just fine, come out the pop-up emitter. You don't want to use a French drain pipe in this case. See how big those openings are? So the water comes out of the D-box and it just floods the front yard right there. See, I want a pipe that's going to carry the water, continue to carry the water to the pop-up or the catch basin. If you're using a catch basin instead of a pop-up, you do everything the same here. You want to run a piece of leach pipe. So what are we doing and why are we doing it? The reason why we run the leach pipe, which is knife cut, it's going to move all the bulk water just like a solid pipe. It's going to come out of this pop-up emitter. But then once the rain event is over, because we didn't have a lot of drop and we're pretty flat right here, there's going to be water in that pop-up, in that elbow. There's going to be water right here in this part of the pipe. Now, by putting stone around it and wrapping it all in fabric, we preserve this so that it'll work for decades and decades to come. Once the bulk water is done and this pop-up drops, whatever's left in that pipe, now out of these little knife cuts, can leach into the subsoil. You never have water left in this system. This is ever so popular in the north. You need to do this in the north so you don't have freeze-ups. Once your pop-up freezes up, you're in trouble. We want to make sure the system's not holding water. That's why we drill holes in our D-boxes. I'll show you that right now. Kale's over here. He drilled a bunch of holes in the bottom of the D-boxes. Did a real nice job. You can see guys drilled holes in all the D-boxes. This way, when the rain event is over, this system is designed to move bulk water. It's not going to saturate the yard. All the bulk water is going to get moved. But when the rain is done, the little bit of water that's in that D-box, the little bit of water that's still in this line right here at the end. It's always in the end by the catch basin and or pop-up emitter, depending on what you're rocking. You want to run that knife cut pipe. Again, knife cut has no material removed, none. There's no material at all removed. Literally just a cut. French drain pipe is different. It has a lot of material removed. That's different because we want to intake water. We just want to intake the water in our French drain pipe. We want the water to flow right into this pipe, through the stone, into this pipe. We want to create this big void, and we want voids that are greater than the stone we use. So that's why we have such an open pipe for French drains, the 8-slot high octane. The knife cut high octane we use for leach fields. We use for a lot of different things. We're going to start showing you guys, but this is one of them right here. You just run a little leach line right here. It'll move the bulk water, but then what's in that pipe will be like a slow release. Literally what's left in that pipe after a rain event will just slowly be released into the soil. And to assure that we don't have grass roots and things growing down into the knife cut, because they will and they can, we go ahead and we put stone around it. It helps for the leaching aspects, and then this way I don't have to worry about, you know, certain turf grasses, their roots will go incredibly deep. You know, when we're working with tall fescue will go 2 feet deep. But when you have a bed of stone around it and you wrap it in a really good drainage fabric, you know, I want to cover that, you know, this drainage fabric. We just ripped out a system. The guy sent me pictures. I couldn't be there to get a video for you guys. But somebody used a landscape fabric, bought it at a landscape supply, and it decayed. It decayed in a matter of years. And there was just little bit of evidence that that fabric was there when we dug it up, but all the stone was mixed in with the dirt. It all migrated together. So it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't matter if it's a leach field, it doesn't matter if it's a French drain, you know, whatever you're building with drainage stone, if you don't wrap it with a really, really good fabric, something that's rated to last decades and decades and decades, it just biodegrades. You know, you try to save some money. I see these guys saying, hey, I love this fabric. It works. It flows water. I endorse it. It's a thin, super thin fabric. And that stuff just decays because it's in a wet environment. It's going to stay wet most of the time. And decay happens rapidly in that environment. This is an engineered product that we're using. I mean, it's DOT approved for all the highway projects. They put it in under highways. You know, whenever there's any kind of serious construction, they're using a great fabric like ours. And the only thing we do is we ask that they punch more holes in it. So we want to up the flow rating for what we're doing. So we take this incredible fabric material and then we customize it for yard drains. The guys are doing a really nice job here. This is beautiful. This will never hold water. It'll move water. The water will come out of the pop-up. And then after the rain event, whatever's left down in that pop-up, in that pipe right here, it'll slowly, just a slow release, be leached away into the subsoil. And it's clay here, and it'll still work because there's not that much water in that pipe. Remember, we're only taking care of what's left after the rain. Because see, when you run these systems, you're running it, and then you're asking it to come up and define gravity. Well, sure, this is a gravity-powered system. The water starts up here. Water seeks a level, but at some point the rain stops coming down this downspout. That means the water stops moving. Once the rain gets down to a certain point and it stops, there's just some water left in the pop-up. And then if you have an outlet basin, same thing. It's the exact same thing. So that's why we run knife cut with some stone and some fabric. That's the reasons for it. I just want to explain it. You know, we just never showed it. And we didn't even have our knife cut high octane in the store because honestly, it was brand new. You know, we just got a run of it. So, you know, it's been dynamite. We got it last fall and we've been working with it and we just love it. It's equally as strong as the 8-slot. It's equally as strong as the solid high octane. So now high octane is available in 8-slot, the solid like I have here, and the knife cut. Strongest single wall pipe in the world and the only purpose-built yard drain pipe manufactured by the Baughman Tile Company. Notice how there's no big trees in this front yard. Where we're putting these leach lines so that there's no water in the pop-up, no water in the D-box, no water in the pipe. There's no trees. If I had big shade trees, then I would tell the homeowner, you're better off just holding water in the pipe. Yes, you're going to risk freeze up in the north, but you're guaranteed that if there's big shade trees, that they're going to take out your leach line. They're going to get inside the knife cut. Your efforts to try to keep your line, from freezing up, the efforts that you put forth and what it takes to do that so that you leach all the water out of that line, that's going to give that tree an opportunity, a shade tree in a front yard, a chance to just get inside that pipe. It's going to sniff out that water. Doesn't matter if you're using the fabric. If you got a tree right there, especially during the drought season, during the drought season, you'll have dew in the morning come off the roof, fill the leach line, and the next thing you know, that thirsty tree during the drought season is going to find its way into that leach line. So it's a give and take. Drainage systems are not a one-size-fits-all. I show you hundreds and now thousands of videos for a reason, so that you can find a collection of videos that best fits what your drainage system needs to be at your house. So the guys don't have to cut the fabric on these leach lines. When you're building leach fields and when you're building a leach line like this in this roof runoff system, this is not a French drain. It doesn't matter if the fabric overlaps. We're not trying to take in surface water. We're actually doing just the opposite. We want the water that's in the pipe, that's left in the pipe after all the bulk water has been moved, we want that water to leach away. We're not drawing in water with the pipe. It's just the absolute opposite. Again, you don't have to worry about overlap. It's not a problem for this type of an application. If it was a French drain, you do have to worry about overlap. All right, so they cored underneath the walkway there. They're taking the solid and hooking up to the D-box. The sump line is in now. They went ahead and packed all that clay on top of that sump line with the mini excavator. Things are moving right along. This is the end of a long week. This is a Friday job. Look at those cores, those clay cores. To get underneath the sidewalk, we had to core that clay. The guys did such a beautiful job. It's nice when you pull cores like that because you're not doing an overdig. So you're not having to pack, so much clay around the pipe, and you didn't disturb very much earth underneath the sidewalk. Definitely a better install if you can pull that off. All right, you're going to see a neat trick here in a minute. So Christopher and Valentine are working as a team. They took a piece of sod and laid it over the D-box and pushed on it to get the indentation. And then they went ahead and they cut it with their blade so that the sod fit perfectly around the D-box. So there's a little helpful tip for you guys to get it right the first time. And then it's just one piece of sod that rings the D-box. Works out pretty nice. So the front is looking great. Now we got to start working on the French drain. So the guys have a couple downspouts on the side of the house here, and we're just going to run those right through the fabric. I'm going to show you that. You're going to get a chance to see that. They're going to do a dynamite job where they just cut the fabric just enough to pull that pipe through, and they're just going to put a pop-up emitter with a turf restrictor plate on it right over the French drain. The water's just going to come out of the pop-up, and it's just going to be taken in by the French drain, and it's going to run all the way down to the storm drain where they cored and tapped the storm drain. This is a dynamite system. The homeowner doing everything at once got a better install. That's always the case. Do it all at once. Don't piece it out. Now, clay always backfill with clay. If you try to backfill with sand or backfill with topsoil, you just created a bathtub effect. And when it does rain, that trench is going to be just god-awful. So we're taking the clay, we're literally chopping it in little pieces. It's tedious. We've got a lot of manpower on this job, but this is what we do no matter what job you guys see. 99 out of 100 jobs that we do are clay. So that was a great shot of that turf restrictor plate and that pop-up emitter. You know, I'm going to get a couple more, decent angles, with the camera for you guys on that. But everybody's always saying, how do I terminate a downspout in a French drain? This is a big question. I get asked all the time, and I've done a lot of videos on it. But this here, I'm going to show you, going to get a real nice close-up, and then Francisco's going to go ahead and button it up, and the guys are going to, keep on moving. Because, again, this is the end of a long week. This big job was on a Friday, and I didn't want to get in the guy's way. I didn't want to slow him down. I was trying to get as much video for you guys so I can give you as many helpful tips and show you as many of the tricks as I could get without getting in their way and slowing them down, because it's Friday and these guys want to knock off and they want to, start their weekend. So we're filling the French drain right now. Now remember, we did a sump pump discharge line here, but we didn't put the French drain over top of the sump pump discharge line, and that's for a very good reason. You want your sump pump discharge line to be a straight line. You don't want all these fittings. You just want a nice straight line. So look at this beautiful work. Look at that. Man, they just killed it. I mean, just like everything they do, just beautiful. You got your turf restrictor plate and pop-ups, your D-boxes. The beds don't even look like anybody was in there doing excavation. Just a great, great install by a veteran crew. Just a team of men that have worked together for years and just have honed their skills big time. So right there's a pop-up emitter, turf restrictor plate. They just put some plywood down. You're going to see how they're going to fill this with stone, because the house is right there, the way everything is. They're just going to hold some plywood, and then that way they don't have to spin the ditch witch. So I kicked that with my shoe just so you guys can see it. And I think I annoyed Francisco. But anyways, check it out. This is how you get stone in places where you can't turn the mini loader. This happens a lot. Just hold some plywood, use that as a slide. Let those marbles, that round rock, just let that roll right into place. It's a really good trick, a really good tip, veteran move.